Fumo netimbo. Yo araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Bema Egypt ne malaya. Takawati kakunda. Bekare seline rodisa. Takawati kakunda. Muhondo araya. Tinobale kushinda. Muhondo araya. Tinobale kushinda. Fumo netimbo. Yo araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Fumo netimbo. Yo araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Neto tichapedza hondo dzose. Wantu depotara yara. Neto tichapedza hondo dzose. Banana. Nikakutengera sepanano. Banana. Nikakutengera sepanano. Fumo netimbo. Araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Fumo netimbo. Araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Nikakutengera sepanano. Nikakutengera sepanano. Banana. Nikakutengera sepanano. Banana. Nikakutengera sepanano. Fumo netimbo. Araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano. Fumo netimbo. Araya muhondo nerunyararo. Nikakutengera sepanano.
Good evening, everybody. That was the Rhodesian African Rifles back in the 70s. Welcome, everyone, joining the show. Let me go ahead and get the others on board here. Hello, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Hello, IT, and hello, War Spirit.
Hello!
IT is currently at my house.
Hello.
So we're going to be sharing a microphone. I'm going to try to make it work as best as I can. And then we have War Spirit with us as well. I gotta say, so right off the bat, I gotta say, man, this whole COVID craze, I really think has been making people go nuts. I think people have lost it. Like, I think that's why the riots and among so many other things have really transpired, is just this tension. Stress, really. You know, stress of a job, stress of not having a job, being locked in their house and that sort of thing. You know, I think that's a big thing. So we've got a couple news stories concerning Walmart. We've also got a couple news stories concerning our governor, where she's been and what she's done. The W.H.O, some details about how America, via the command of Trump, which is a good thing, has left the W.H.O. And I'm just looking forward to tonight. It's what? You sucker. I get you. That's to say, it took me a minute. I was like, who? What? So yeah, we got jokes. So we kind of, if you can't really tell, we're kind of somber. We got insider information. Somebody hit up the page and was letting us know that some poor woman was getting beat up by a tall man over in front of Walmart just a few moments ago. And that just kind of makes me sad. There's been a lot of mental things happening at the different establishments across town. I remember you telling us stories, War Spirit, like, you know, even when this was first getting going, like, you wore your mask under your nose intentionally as a joke. And some dude started screaming at you furiously. Yeah. For what, you know, could have just been an honest mistake, you know what I mean? Right, understandably, I guess. If you live on that side of things, you're usually living in a very a very sad. Oh my gosh, you've been muted this whole time, Ty. I apologize, War Spirit. No, I could hear you, but our audience couldn't.
Gotcha.
My bad. So, yeah, I'm still getting this figured out. So let me go ahead and anyone who's watching, let me go ahead and recant that. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, I was just talking to War Spirit about the craziness of everything going on, and he's been through some crazy people who, like, he was wearing his mask wrong, and to basically re-say what he said, people have, you know, this guy, he had his mask under his nose as a protest because, you know, these places he's gone to, they tell you to wear a mask, they don't tell you how. And so when someone was telling him that, he said, "Oh, my body, my choice," and this guy came completely just loose. And so,
he wasn't an employee of the store. He was just some random patron in Sam's Club.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an old boomer type guy. Yeah. And he just come uncorked on me, and I was just like, dude, you're the one, like, making a fool of yourself, not me.
Right. That's usually the case.
And then there was that guy at the Wendy's drive-in that, like, went crazy, like, because they got his order wrong, and then they, like, the lady in front of him took a while, and he was, like, yelling and screaming at her, and yeah, people have gone nuts in this town. And then, of course, this. And then we also heard that other information recently that a Walmart employee got kind of, like, threatened. Why don't you tell us about that, John?
So, a Walmart employee who's a good friend of mine was threatened point blank by a fat old effer, in his own words. And basically what had happened, and I guess, you know, originally I misunderstood the interpretation when I first heard this news. You can find the original post and my outlook on it on our page, facebook.com/ITTDM. But anyways, basically what had happened is my friend works as one of the guys. Yeah, so be nice, guys. These people are on our side, potentially. They're just working a job. My friend, he was working as a job. His job right now, he's kind of a health ambassador. But he stands out front of Walmart and he tells people basically they can't come inside unless they put on a mask. Which immediately, you know, how I see it, private business is private business. I do not agree with that, so I will not. Excuse me.
You will not breathe. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I got COVID because I didn't wear my mask. See,
I can't breathe.
No, I'm joking. But oh, that's dark. That's dark, War Spirit. But anyways, I was saying, so he basically would tell people to put on their mask, and this guy, he basically come unglued. Oh my gosh, I can't get.
Are you
this
gonna
water
be okay?
I'm okay. I got like water in my throat.
Then mute your mic and do some hacking, and then come back to us.
I think we're good. Okay, we're good. So basically, this guy, he told the guy something like, "I'm not going to put it on. You don't tell me what to do." And then, like, Walmart employee, he doesn't follow him or anything. He doesn't, bother him. But basically along the lines of what I understood, and somebody, if, you guys got the quotes as well, could basically, the guy said, "It's a good thing you didn't follow me, or I'd gut you before you even had a chance to lay a hand on me," or something like that. He's like, "I'll spill your guts on the Walmart floor." You know, and I sit back and I'm like, so this guy doesn't support the mask policy, yet he's adamant to go inside and support Walmart? That's immediately, but I mean, let's also go to the fact that he threatened a worker. Imagine if another news outlet got a hold of this. Imagine if, like, CNN or someone got a hold of this. Anti-masker threatens murder at store. Yeah. Then what kind of crap would we be in? You know, because I understand generalizing people isn't healthy as a general rule. But that's the thing, is like, so when you give people ammunition, they're bound to generalize.
Well, and guys, everybody listening out there, you got to understand, the other side is just looking for an excuse to try to generalize us. They've done that to the gun owners for years. You have one gun owner that does something stupid, like, you know, has a negligent discharge and shoots themselves while they're cleaning their gun or whatever. And so then they say, "See, that's just stupid Billy Bob over there. He doesn't know what he's doing, you know, and got the chickens in the house, letting them pick on the couch."
Right. And that's exactly it. You know, we have right now that's what you were saying. It's like, private business is private business. I don't think Walmart, as a money-making corporation, is really fond of saying, you have to wear a mask to come here, because there are going to be people like us, especially if we do it enough, like where there's enough of us where it actually, they look at their pocketbook and they're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Not to say that Walmart could ever possibly be in trouble, but even if it's like, if they lose, a couple hundred, that's all it takes for a board meeting to lose it,
Well, speaking of doing that, guess who is in the red as of these last few weeks?
Who's that?
NASCAR.
Well, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah, so NASCAR recently went out, we talked about this last week, and banned the rebel flag from all NASCAR events. So. And because of that, they lost a huge audience base. And it's funny because the owner or co-owner of NASCAR says that basically, more or less, we didn't need those people anyways. And they're seeing that they do need those people because their pocketbooks being emptied.
Sure don't, do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was going at, and it angered me to an unreasonable level. Like, I didn't come to screaming or anything, or all capsing out. But I did say this, to anyone who might have thought that was the way of going about it. I basically said, put your money where your mouth is, or shut it. That was the most harsh thing I wrote. And that's basically the whole problem with it. It's like, I understand you disagree, and I understand the frustration. I get it. We're all in the same BS boat together. I get it. And I mean, we'll talk about some BS boats here in a minute after we get done with Walmart.
Well, here's just my suggestion. If somebody's wanting to, say, not have to wear their mask in Walmart, what you do is you put your mask on and you go in front of the feller that's the checking for masks. Once you get past that feller, you get down the aisle, you take your freaking mask off. Just saying.
Right. But then they threaten a fine, by the way.
Do they?
Right, yes.
Walmart. Oh, I'm sorry, I just forgot to put this back on. I'll just put it back on. Then you go around the other side of the aisle, you take it back off again.
Right.
And then when you get your fine, you frame it.
I was about to say, because there's no way you have to pay that.
Because I am not paying. If I get fined for not wearing a mask, I am not paying it. So go ahead, you can fine me.
Right. We're going to frame it on the wall, and it's going to be our historical, piece of
history. For the most part, unless I absolutely have to, I don't patronage a place that requires masks.
Right. You don't support people who don't
Yeah.
support you.
Yeah.
That's
And it's nothing against the employees. I understand they got to do a job. I just be like, cool, man. Just like, for example, Burger King. I was going to take the whole family, and when we were allowed to go in and eat again, I was going to be, $40-$50 for me and all my kids and the wife. So that's a chunk of change. And they lost out on that because they're like, well, you have to wear a mask. Oh, okay. So I turned around. They're like, you mean you're not going to eat here because you got to wear a mask? Yes. And they thought I was just like an idiot. Like, well, fine then. And so we went to Wendy's, and they didn't require a mask, so we ate there.
Right, and that's hard to say because it has changed. If you notice, like, because it was 4th of July, I thought how ironic because everyone was getting over the mask thing. People were getting more laxed about it, and then around the 4th of July, everyone got that little text from the governor, and everyone just and then the mandates got
wear it under law. Yeah,
and then everyone started enforcing it twofold. Even after the curve has been flattened, even after everything has been, calmed down, now everyone's flipping out again because of the governor. Really no other reason. And the media, don't get me wrong.
And you know what I've done? Because I have had to wear it in several places and also at my job in different places. I wear it underneath my chin.
Right.
I had one of our purchasing agents at work come unglued at me. You're not wearing your mask right. And I said, the law says I have to wear my mask. They never said how.
Exactly.
And he just stomped off.
I'm about to say, I took a shred from my shamrock the other day, and I put that over my face, and I did because my buddy he's a pro masker, but he invited me over to have some enchiladas. I went over there, and he's like, "Can't come in unless you got a mask." And I said, Allahu Akbar. So I put my little Muslim rag up, and he's like, "Oh, it's just a mask." And I was like, "Yup." But it was just kind of funny. He was kind of joking around. Even he's like, "Stand right there for a minute," and he sprayed I think it was Febreze. He sprayed Febreze all over me.
Like that's gonna kill the corona.
Right.
It's gonna make the corona smell.
It might have been Lysol or something, but I just thought it was funny. Made me go through a disinfection chamber. I'm like, bruh, you work. I know where he works. I actually don't want to give that out, but he works.
I was gonna say, whoa.
Yeah, he works.
Let's
at
not
a place.
talk about where people jerk.
Yeah, he works at a place, and I was like, that's very highly populated, and it's just like, really, dude, you're gonna give me crap at your house?
Right.
Well, it's just one of those things. But I mean, again, that's his house. If he said, even in a joking matter, I respect people's property. Wear a mask before you come in here. If I want to go in there, I'm going to wear a mask because I respect people's private property. So if I don't respect it enough, I'm just going to leave. You know what I mean?
So, IT, what's your take on this? We haven't heard from you.
My take on what?
Just the standard.
Just the whole situation.
Masks and restrictions on businesses and that sort of thing.
Leave it to the business's discretion. I mean,
right, exactly, and that's what we've been saying.
Yeah,
right.
Private property should usurp that decision.
Well, just like I was putting it to John earlier, we was talking on the phone earlier, and it's like, okay, say I decide to open a jiu-jitsu dojo, and I decide because with jiu-jitsu you can go gi or no gi, and to those who don't know what a gi is, think about the Karate Kid, the karate looking robe. That's a gi. Whether you do karate or jiu-jitsu or whatever, it's called a gi. And there's certain different classed schools of jiu-jitsu that require a gi. And so if I decide that I want to be a traditional jiu-jitsu class and I say gi only, and you come in and you don't have a gi, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you can't roll with us. Those are my rules.
Precisely.
It's no different.
Or take off your shoes before coming in my house. Yeah, it's literally that simple. Yeah, that's all it is.
Exactly.
And
this is my pile of dirt. This is my empire of dirt. I own it. And my rules go. I am the dictator of my empire of dirt.
And if you don't like it, I will make you hurt.
Sorry, yeah, it's just
that was really dumb.
That is really dumb, but it was kind of funny. It's like the biggest kid in the playground, and when he's in the sandbox, it's his rules go.
Right. But I mean, by all means, that's again. I mean that could be argued. He's a bully. I'm going to free the sandbox. Charge
Which I
the sandbox.
did as a kid several times.
Right. So another thing we plan, I'm gonna mention it on the show because I do want to do it sometime. I plan a skit with War Spirit because somebody was sharing a quote on Facebook and it just tickled me. And the quote was, if the governor or basically the media or the government said that the virus only attacked people who were like above 3 feet tall, then people would crawl on their hands and knees to get where they were going.
Mm-hmm.
And so it cracked me up. So I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I was like, what a funny skit. And so I won't really read the screenplay to y'all, but that is a very funny idea, and we have a pretty good.
I was gonna say, don't put it out over the air. Somebody else is gonna do it, dude.
Exactly. I'm not gonna do that because we already had one of our ideas ripped off. I mean, unintentionally, I'm gonna say, by Paul Blart Mall Cop himself. Like, he actually did a really funny thing. It was like called Karen or something like that, and it was like he took the trash out, and somebody saw that he didn't wear his mask out to his own trash can.
We said that like cops. Day before that went out.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, Paul Blart, no.
Yeah.
What's his name? Kevin something? It's
Kevin Spade, isn't it?
No, it's not Kevin Spade. It's it's whatever. It's not important. It's Kevin something.
Hart.
Kevin James. Kevin Hart.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's not African American. Paul Blart, Mall Cop, the fat white
Kevin
guy.
James.
Kevin James, that's it. Why is Kevin James on my phone? Why is there so many pictures? Sexy Kevin James. So... Anyways, so... going on...
That show made me want to get a Segway.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was all just one big Segway ad.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool.
Put your hand on your hip convincingly.
What you do is you pull up to the assailant and you turn with your strong side away from them, and putting your hand on your hip, your strong side hip, thusly giving it the appearance that you have a gun. But we both know you don't.
Some good comedy. Kevin Hart, yeah, drama Pink Girl. Thank you. I was about to say Kevin Hart, Paul Blart, shopping cart. 2.
Thank you, Pink Girl.
Yeah, that was awesome of her. I gotta say, Pink Girl is such a huge help.
She is.
Yeah. So
she's kind of cute too.
Yeah, I bet she is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blow your cover. So, anyways, what are we going on from? Oh, yes. So, over the 4th of July, Grisham sent a notification out across people's phones. You may have got one. I didn't get one, thank God, but a lot of people got one that comes up with that Amber Alert, emergency broadcasting service, annoying thing, to get your attention, and basically, yeah, that sound. And what it implied is like, stay inside this 4th of July, don't let us catch you outside, Big Brother is watching you, obey, basically. And I went to McGee Park that night, and I saw freedom. Granted, you guys should have picked up your trash, a lot of you. We picked up ours. It's not that hard. Pick up your crap. America. So it was a beautiful sight. If you didn't get to see it, McGee Park was amazing last week. Just absolute, as I love it, anarchy. There's misfires, people getting hit by fireworks. I love it so much. It's just so wonderful to go there. There's so many fireworks going off at once. It really puts all the other shows in Farmington, because just the sheer volume of explosives going off at like any given time, it just puts every other show to shame. Like, not to say these other shows aren't nice, I would definitely probably be better off, flirting and kissing with a girl with a steady stream like Bolax or Farmington or Bloomfields. But when I'm ready to get crunky and get funky, man, I go down to McGee Park.
Folks, we'll catch you later.
IT just like
yeah, guys,
wins.
we're thank you very much. Thanks for having the show. Good night.
Right, cronky and funky. But no, when I want to party, man, I go to McGee Park. Because those guys, all those folks, lovely folks out there, they know what the holiday's about. And God bless them for it. And, needless to say, all these governors, like even the one in California, said stay inside. Nobody listened. Across LA, there was a beautiful video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's beautiful. Where it was just a nonstop barrage of fireworks, just constant across the city. And I loved it.
You know, I just thought of something, John.
Yes, sir.
Tommy Bolak got brought up again. Man, Tommy, if you're listening, we got to get an interview with you, man. You're an interesting fellow.
We have got to. Like, that's a given. And it's not even like that would help us. Like, right now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
We're small, we're growing. Imagine that Tommy Bolak interview, ITTDM. We would
Tommy,
love to have.
Please give us an interview, please.
Please, Tommy, bro. We would love to have you. You can wear whatever you want.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Oh, jeez. Oh, Tommy. Like I said, I used to know some people who worked with Tommy. They're cool people, but yeah, they all have that same thing. Yeah, he's as crazy as they sound, but that's why we want to talk to him. Because crazy ain't necessarily a bad thing. As far as I know, Bolak does support the cause of freedom. Even
he
if
does.
He's a bit wild.
Yeah.
So, going on. So, Michelle Lujan Grisham, over the 4th, after sending that message, right, to telling everyone to stay indoors and stay inside, traveled again to Navajo Lake.
Oh, I was just about to say, where did she travel to?
She traveled to Navajo Lake. Seems to be her favorite lake in this area, I gotta say. She doesn't really go to other
in
lakes.
New Mexico, she's been there a lot of times. Rumor has it she has some friends here.
Right, local oil field business, as I understand.
That's what I hear, yeah.
Yeah, some kind of local oil field business, and it just kind of goes to show she's, cover your children's ears, a whore for the highest bidder. That's all she is. Because, isn't she supposed to be anti-oil field for environment? Oh, wait a minute. Not if oil fields pay her.
Exactly. You see, in the Democrat Party, the way all that works is all those rules only apply unless you pay them money or you're buddies with them. Now, if you're buddies or you're paying an individual money, you can do whatever you want. And in fact, if you do immoral things, it's actually it's a resume enhancer.
Precisely.
For example, I don't know if you boys know about a little river called Chappaquiddick.
You know about a river called Chappaquiddick, IT? No. So no.
Well, there's this former politician. He's deceased now, named Ted Kennedy. You ever heard of Ted Kennedy?
Oh, I know what you're. Oh my gosh, yes, Chappaquiddick. I'm sorry.
So back in the day, for those of you who don't know, Ted Kennedy was partying and got this girl to go with him, and they fooled around and stuff. Her name was Mary. Was it Mary Jane Kopechne? I want to say that.
I don't know.
Or
I just know it's some poor girl.
Kopechne or Kopechne. I'm probably butchering the name, but I'm just going by memory. And Ted Kennedy got so drunk he drove off of the bridge and into the bay. The river or bay, I'm not for sure what it is.
He left her to die in there.
Yeah, he left her there, and he woke up the next morning, with a hangover, and of course, like bloodied and stuff. So he knew something had happened, but he knew, and then he just called and said, "Hey, by the way, my car's in there, and there's a dead girl in there," and they covered it all up for him because he was in the Democrat Party.
There was a film that came out. I think it was like a Netflix
Chappaquiddick,
special, wasn't it? Yeah, and the Kennedys are riddled with nasty things like that.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at with that is when you are in the Democrat Party, you're one of them, so they will cover up anything for you. And in fact, you end up you're a good old boy. You see, so that it's a resume enhancer.
Exactly. So, who's to say what all has been covered up in our own area, say like Zorro Ranch and Ghislaine?
Yes, like Zorro Ranch. And, I'm going to be curious to see if another former governor is resurfaced, if Miss Maxwell mentions a certain former New Mexico governor.
Right, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Hey, so anyways, yeah, I'm testifying against Bill Richardson. Oh, dang.
Yeah, and maybe his former health advisor?
Yeah, I'd hope so.
On today's episode.
Yeah. Do you guys know who Bill Richardson's former health advisor was?
Oh, no. Don't.
Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Yep.
You had to do it to them.
Yep, they're done.
You hate to see it, folks.
I'm about to say, it's very interesting how many of these governors are actually as high up as they are. It's almost like cadet training for the deep state, a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is where they get their roots, and then they get to the echelons of, like, Hillary Clinton, and then, before you know it, they're up in the echelon with Soros. So, is it echelon? I don't know. I was homeschooled. Don't blame me.
Echelon.
I couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
And you guys didn't even save me.
Enough.
You guys didn't even save me. What kind of friends are you? Echelon. I read words. I didn't pronounce them.
It's bad.
Right. So, anyways, Lujan Grisham. Actually, so like I was saying, right after she sent the text out to make everyone stay inside, she was spotted at Navajo Lake on a fishing boat, taking part in the festivities. So she left her house,
Imagine that.
traveled, and I bet you she stopped at a gas station along the way.
Yes, and there's also reports that some of the patrons that saw her, she wasn't wearing a mask.
She wasn't wearing a mask?
No, that whole boat, I'm sure, just got COVID-19.
Oh my gosh, dude. You know, and I'm acting surprised, but in reality, I'm not.
The whole boat got Chinese lung AIDS.
Yeah, they got them. They got that.
Boomer and tumor.
Yeah, the boomer and tumor. They got that communist lung
from
disease.
It's from China.
Yeah.
China.
Yeah. So that's the reality of what's happened, you know. And speaking of China, that's something I guess I should have put in the show notes. India and China have been going at it. There's this hill they've been fighting over, and it's basically a mountain that, more or less, in their eyes, separates India from China. And China held an attack, killed a whole bunch of Indians there, and India is basically right now in the process of what looks like a counterattack. Right now it's hard to say, but it's, you know, they're rallying troops, they're pulling in reserves. We actually know an Indian fellow that was talking with us that actually said that, because he just got back from a trip over there.
I have a friend, and he's from there. He's an American citizen here now.
God bless him.
And and he was saying that their prime minister of India, because I guess he's kind of a dual citizen, was saying that they called in 500,000 reservists back into the Indian Army, and so I had to ask him. Oh,
I think it's
Hello?
okay. I don't know. You okay, IT? Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we'll just keep going on.
Yeah, keep going.
So, anyways, I had to ask him, since that was all going on, I asked him, so are the Indians on the warpath?
Bruh. Wow, War Spirit.
He didn't get it. He was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I bet he didn't get that.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Should have asked him I don't know. I would have asked if they're going to bring back elephant cavalry. Imagine You know, because they did have that.
bro, that'd be awesome.
Dude, imagine.
Can you imagine
a red getting like speared and picked up by an elephant? Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah, and have those elephants like that back when they did. They tied like freaking like swords and stuff to their tusks.
Right.
So like that way, like when they would like slam into people, it'd just slice them open.
That'd be kicking, bro. Talk about
That'd be
going
cool.
back to bug out vehicles. Get yourself your tactical elephant.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. That's pretty dope. So right now it's interesting, and we're talking about like what kind of grounds will this hold, right? Like, because you know some people are like, is this going to be World War III? That's the question.
It very possibly could. It very possibly could because see, well, India, I believe, is part of NATO, and so if they get into trouble, they're going to ask NATO for help, and if NATO says yes, then we're going to be involved. All of the allied countries are going to be involved, and so then, of course, China, I'm sure Russia will and North Korea will side with China, and so will Iran, Syria, Iraq, and so you're going to have kind of like the Axis powers and the Allied powers is the same as World War II.
And I wonder, this is the question, right? We so often we see World War III as the end of the world. That is kind of in question when it's a NATO thing.
Well, you know, yeah, I don't see it as the end of the world, and I think inevitably, even though the Chinese have billions of people, I still think we would win.
Well, I think we would win because even like so, you see all these other countries. Most Chinese are aware of the tyranny that is in their nation. They don't like it any more than anyone else does.
Right.
You know, so many people like to generalize, and don't get me wrong. When I've referred to the dirty communist China, I do not mean as a whole, because a lot of those people, they're hopeless. They've never seen the light of what liberty can look like. They never had a hope that they could, because their government is just that overbearing and has been since the 50s.
Sure.
It's the same thing as North Korea. It's like these people who live there have no idea. And so, but when that little spark starts, and trust me, it has started, there's plenty of it going on, China would have to deal with insurrection while its entire military force was off somewhere else. They have the population, maybe, to deal with that.
That's horrible. They make a blue pill for that.
Blue pill for that? I'm sorry, what did I say that made a Viagra reference? I'm not getting it.
You were oh, insurrection. I'm sorry, I heard you wrong.
Oh.
My name is Warfare.
Well, if you ever have an insurrection, there's a blue pill for that.
If you suffer from insurrection,
right? There's a tank.
Call your doctor.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. We're all like, imagine this, right? Like, imagine World War III kicks off like a month from now, and this is one of the recordings that like is remembered. You know what I mean? Insurrection.
We fight the UGI. You no give us no insurrection.
Stop. Stop that. We're gonna be called racist. Which doesn't really bother me.
I don't care if you call me a racist against China. I am a racist against China.
Yeah, I'm a racist against any communist. Truly.
Yes.
If communism is a race, then I'm against it. But
to me, communism is almost more of a religion, actually,
really
which
is.
actually I guess makes it worse.
Right. You're a bigot. You're a bigot, Warfare.
I am.
Right.
I am.
You need to check your privilege.
I'm a bigot against communists, and let that be the record held for anybody listening. I'm a bigot against fascists.
Yeah, fascists, communists,
and against anti-Semitics.
Right, anti-Semitics aren't really cool, man. I'm about to say, like, I could understand someone buying into the conspiracy that, like, so, like, you're telling me, like, actually, I take it back. I can't understand it. I can't even begin to understand it. You're telling me, and they'll say this too, right, that the race of the Jewish people has been kicked out of 109 nations, and they hold this as some kind of proof. But I kind of hold it, as proof against them, because it's like, 109 nations. These people have been kicked out of 109 countries. And they barely get this small strip of land that's not even as big as New Mexico. Like, barely, if even. Actually, I know it's not. They get
and especially since they gave up, once they gave up the West Bank.
Yeah.
The Gaza Strip.
They're completely surrounded by the Egyptians, the Saudi Arabians, the Palestinians, the Iraqians, name it, shake a stick. What do you call them? Iranians? Iranians? I thought that's what Iran was.
I guess that would be Iran. Iraq. I don't think it'd be Iraqians.
I don't know. It does sound weird, huh? Iraq Asians?
No, I don't know.
Orangutans!
Dang, who's being racist now?
Against Iraq, hopefully this entire country someday.
Amen, brother. Just call them camel jockeys.
No! I would, don't get me wrong, we just can't be doing too much of the whole racial thing on the show. People will, not people, but YouTube will basically stick
we'll be no more.
It'll stick its big, hard, throbbing stick of justice into our algorithm and we're done.
We'll get an insurrection.
Is that you, Susan?
Yeah. Is that you, Susan? So, yeah, so right now it is very interesting. What would World War III look like? And right now, it's like, I wonder if it would look like one of those things like Chechnya. Iraqi. Oh, my kid, it was Iraqi. No kidding. I remember that.
Iraqis.
Iraqis.
There you go, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I knew it, but I couldn't think of it right there because I'm like, Iraqians? No, that's not right.
Some like Mandela effect. Because now I remember, but it's like, I love IT on this side. He's like, I'm going to Google this. Yeah. And then once he said it, I'm like, oh, yeah. I still like orangutans quite a bit, though. I want to be like you.
King Louis.
King Louis, the orangutan. All like Photoshop a little like Hamu bombing and stuff. Like he's got like a suicide vest.
He's got a suicide vest riding a camel.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great. Man, we just went way off into the freaking desert.
We did.
Today.
That was in the freaking weeds, man.
No, we went past the weeds. We're in the freaking Sahara, dude.
Sahara,
you, Sarah.
Hey, you told me earlier.
Good point. I get it.
Those words.
I get it. I appreciate your input. It's like you guys are letting me walk around with all these white zits on my face, which is metaphorically. I mean, I get those, but it's like it would be like your friend is sitting there with an uncomfortably large zit, and he's about to talk to a woman, and you're just like, you know,
go get him, champ. You got this.
Right.
So that I actually got a quick story about not that exactly, but so my dear wife, when we were still dating, I took her to play golf because she wanted to try it at Civitan. And again, we'd only been on like 2 or 3 dates when this happened. So we met some other friends of mine and we went golfing. Well, she had just put on some lipstick that she thought I would like in her car before she got out. Well, she accidentally got it on her teeth. And but we're like still dating new, and I'm like, well, do I say something? Do I, am I gonna make her mad if I tell her this? And so I let her go the whole day with lipstick all over her teeth. That was the wrong move.
What a lad.
So we get back to her car, and when everybody else is gone, she looked at the mirror and she saw it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, how long has it been like that?" And I'm like, I didn't want to say anything, but all day, and she was ticked. She's like, "Next time, tell me!" Oh my gosh, and she was mortified. But so those you guys out there that if your lady friend has like lipstick over her teeth, just let her know.
That's about right.
Right.
Yeah.
Precisely, and that is funny. I've had similar things like that. Makeup on they didn't even know it, but there's like makeup in their hair somehow. I swear they just like, I swear the quick way of doing it, this is why you'd never rush a woman. Like, I swear they will literally go to the sink, just throw a bunch of makeup in it and slam their face into it. Boonk! They're like, what's that? And they're like, I'm fine, don't worry about it. And you're like, okay.
They got this little mask thing that they just like have it pre-makeup. They just slam it like a mole.
Sounds like something out of a Ren and Stimpy episode.
It does sound. It sounds like something Stimpy would do, and then you'd have them big, like, huge red lips sticking out. Oh, Ren!
Yeah, hey, you did pretty good, Stimpy. That was really good.
Stimpy, you idiot!
Yeah, you idiot. Yeah, I quite like. Even though the writer has got a bit of controversy in him, I'll always have a place in my heart for the show.
Oh yeah, man. That show was like kind of messed up for back in the day.
It was
like,
messed up. It was explicitly. It was explicit.
Yeah, they had some weird stuff on Ren and Stimpy. I remember Nickelodeon at that time was messed up. Rocco's Modern Life had all kinds of innuendos.
I remember even back in Cartoon Network days, like there used to be this. I mean, my dad hated it, but I quite caught a kick out of it. It was called Cow and Chicken.
Oh, Cow and Chicken was hilarious. Yeah, I love Cow and Chicken.
Yeah, there was this episode where a bunch of lesbian bikers like show up at their house, and
I remember that. Yeah, they're like got chains and they're beating up the house.
Yeah, well, no, what they do is they start eating the carpets of the house. I'm not kidding.
Oh, no, I do remember that now. Yeah,
they're like a gang of people who go to people's houses and eat their carpets, and I just was like, this
carpet
passed?
munchers.
Yeah, I was like, this passed. This passed.
There's one Rocco's Modern Life where this one episode, it's kind of funny. Like instead of figure skating, it's supposed to be jackhammer skating. So they get on these jackhammers on this concrete, and like Rocco's like doing this like dance with a jackhammer, like sliding around on it and stuff. But the sign above where the jackhammer skating is jack it all you want.
Oh my gosh.
And that made it in there. And then also Rocco, and they don't explicitly say what it is, but if you'll read in the background, it's his job is a phone sex worker.
Hilarious.
And this was on Nickelodeon for kids.
But that's the thing about Ren and Stimpy is like later I remember it kind of became like very like once people picked up on Ren and Stimpy and what it was.
That's when it kind of got shut down.
Yeah, I was like, stop it. And then he went into making adult cartoons.
Yeah.
Which are funny in their own right, but nothing beats the originals, Ren and Stimpy. It's one of those more abstract cartoons to find, too. I was about to say, you really are hard-pressed to find.
I liked that style, too, because they were still kind of trying to fly under the radar. And so it was like, I see what they did there. But it wasn't explicit. I hate the new adult cartoons because it's just like, so nasty and in your face. It's like,
it's just like, hey, look at that penis.
It's no longer funny.
Yeah. Well,
but if you have a character that kind of maybe is in the shape of one,
right,
that's funny.
Right. I.e. Samurai Jack Season 5.
Exactly.
All right. Anyways, to get back on track, so Trump basically excluded us from the WHO. And
who?
Right, yeah, those guys who.
Gotcha.
Who are you? Yeah, so
that's the World Health Organization.
Yeah, the World Health
Organization. Don't get my joke.
Right. Yeah, so the World Health Organization has been found constantly to be in bed with Xi Jinping, the Prime Minister of China, a direct tyrant. So, It's one of those things. So Trump basically said, "We're done with you, WHO. You're not a help. You're a dirty, lying sack of garbage."
Well, it's come out recently that the WHO knew about all this stuff in December. That how bad it was, how much trouble China was already having, and they covered that up to help their buddy Xi Jinping, rather than telling Trump, "Hey, this is getting bad over here. You guys better prepare for this." And he didn't say anything.
And I remember
now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, with that said, again, let me remind everybody that there hasn't been as many deaths as they said it has been. It's still 99.08% survivable, and everybody's gonna be okay.
No.
Unless you have a terrible illness or you're obesely fat.
Well,
You're gonna be okay.
As a media individual, I must remind you of the dangers of St. Mary's evil virus.
St. Mary's evil virus?
So, if you haven't watched it, War Spirit, there's a film that's based in 2020 that came out in the early 2000s where a corrupt fascist government uses a virus to control the masses. Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going.
V for Vendetta.
Yep. I love introducing it that way because it's like, what? And then I'm like, well, yeah, I know you've seen it. Everybody saw it.
I've seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing.
It's a very flip-flop film. They push a lot of like progressiveness where it's like Christians.
To me, it was just too slow.
I don't know. I appreciated it in my older age, but I mean, I don't know. The original 1984s were really slow too.
Yeah, but I actually didn't watch the movie 1984 until many years later. I read the book originally. The book is good.
Yeah, the book is very good. And the film's back in like the 50s and the 60s. And hell, I think there's one that came out in the late 40s when the book, was written. That was actually really good. But again, very slow. So I was about to say, but it's a pretty decent film. The only gripes, if you guys plan on watching V for Vendetta, the only gripes that I would have with V for Vendetta is that they say that like England is being too mean to Muslims and all this other stuff. There's a lot of progressive subliminal messaging going into it. But
I thought you was going to say that it needed to have more cowbell.
Probably would help it. You know what I'm saying?
Always more cowbell.
Always. Can never have enough of that. Tina, come get your dinner, you fat lord. Another movie reference. So I'm not like totally cultureless there, War Spirit. But yeah, no, V for Vendetta was interesting. I just really got a kick out of it because once people weren't scared of the virus anymore, the media started saying like 80,000 killed by virus in this city, and it basically like the Chancellor of England or whatever, the Norsefire government in the film, basically told the media, because V, codename V, was getting so much attention that they needed to cause distraction, chaos, anarchy, and panic. And, it's actually very disturbing, like, how it can be applied to, like, it's almost like a screenplay, kind of the events towards the end of the film, because it's like, there's this investigator, and he's like, someone will do something stupid. And it shows an officer shooting a little girl, and then everyone starts rioting.
Ooh.
And I was like, wow. I was like, that, you want to talk about George Floyd and how everyone's been driven mad.
Right. Well, all of this, again and again, and I've said it before, is straight out of Karl Marx's playbook.
Really?
Yeah. Well, one of the steps in Karl Marx of getting, because the first step is to tear down the establishment. And you tear down the establishment by getting the young people to do your bidding and to riot and to do all this different stuff. And then the next step after the teardown is the what do you call it? Basically, I forget what he called it, but getting used to the new. Okay. Right. And so what have we heard from all this different mask wearing and all this stuff? This is the new normal. Karl Marx said that. He didn't actually say new normal, but it's the same thing. You got to get used to people the new way you want them to think. Right. And then when you get them the way you want them to think, you start changing things.
Right. When you're bound to have less resistance when, that in concept is basically thrown up there as the simple.
Correct. Boom. And all the while, see, as Karl Marx, you're Karl Marx, you're the leader. You're not doing any of it. You're getting the pawns, the kids, and that's these rioters out here, these stupid kids. They're doing it for you. So then you can sit back and say, it's not me. I'm not doing none of this.
And just to go back real quick, let's make it clear, and this was my gripe with V for Vendetta, is that it's flip-flopped. It's the progressives in Vendetta are shown as like heroes, while in the real world right now, progressives are the one pushing the 1984 BS. Wear your mask,
Right.
stay inside, obey, obey, obey. Which I think is very weird because it's like one token they're like disobey everything the government says, and then you flip the coin and they're like obey everything the government says. And I see that on both sides to different varying degrees of sense.
Right.
Because it is kind of one of those things, everyone's going to have a preference of what they want their government to do. And that sort of thing.
Well, I find it hilarious of how many leftists actually like George Orwell's book, and they think, yeah, that's what the right's doing to us, man. Like, no, I just want to be left alone.
I mean, if you want to look at one another, Karl Marx tactics is division. It's get people who wouldn't be violent to be violent, yeah.
And also another Karl Marx tactic is to and actually Hitler also used this tactic, is whatever you are planning on doing, you first accuse the opposite side of the exact same thing.
Right. And
what that does is, yeah, see that, and then that way, then you implement it. And I still don't really understand how this works, but it does work to the sheeple. And then they don't realize it, and that's what Antifa's doing. I mean, that's the reason why they call themselves anti-fascist, but they're actually the ones that are fascist.
Truly, and that's what I've seen from them is pure. I mean, granted, it's not exactly National Socialist Nazi fascism, but it is fascism, which, I mean, Stalin is a fascist, all the same as he was a communist. Right. But to say fascism more...
Communism...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Fascism kind of points more to a... Fascism as... And I'm using modern terms here. Fascism was invented by the Romans, and basically all it stood for was all of the people enforce the ruler... Like, whatever the ruler seeks is what the people enforce. That's what fascism is. That's what the Romans created. And so that's the kind of the platform Nazis and communists both stand on is, the bourgeoisie don't follow the government's orders, so we must report them. 1 in 3 people. This is from East Germany, by the way. Kind of going into a historical rant. But it's very common. 1 in 3 people in East Berlin were part of the secret police, and they would turn in their own family and stuff.
Well, right, and going back to you're saying the Romans invented that. That was also the reason why Rome fell.
Precisely.
Because one of the Roman generals said that once the people find out that they can vote themselves treats, that is going to be the end of our civilization.
Precisely. And that's what you see with socialism and everything. It's like, I don't want to have to work 40 hours a week to pay my bills. I don't want to have to work 1 hour a week to feed my family. I just want the government to give it to me. So I will vote for whatever makes my life easier.
I just want to sit around and write poetry.
And while this is a nice dream, like if it was possible, if social, and this is what I tell people, if socialism in its basis concept without all the evil behind it, if it was like, people get things for free, everyone's fed, everyone doesn't have to work except when they want to, which honestly would be never. But like, let's say socialism was possible in this cursed earth we live on. I would probably be a very avid socialist. I would be like, yeah, heck yeah. But sadly, facts don't really care about your emotions.
But the thing is, John, is say that is true. Say everybody, let's say our bare minimums are guaranteed, and we don't got to work. Bacon, beans, and Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Or in a house, and even just say a car. That's your bare minimum. I don't want to live on bare minimum.
Right.
I'm like the guy we talked about last week. I want a yacht.
Right.
And if you find out how to get everybody a yacht, well, there's still a problem because I want 2 yachts.
Yeah. So Bandit X91. Hello, Bandit. I haven't seen your face before, but I'm happy to have you on board.
Welcome, Bandit.
So Antifa said they rebranded. So Bandit X91 says Antifa rebranded into Black Lives Matter. Yeah,
Sure,
I've always kind of
sure.
seen them as a joint op.
They're
originally I was
they're
like,
a joint task force.
yeah, that's what I was kind of looking at. And so originally I was like, let's blame, let's find out who to blame out of these two different parties that is responsible, right? So I was
And
thinking,
you know why they did that?
yeah, because now when you say Antifa, like evil Antifa, they're going to say, oh, well, you must be racist.
Yeah, exactly. Because you Black Lives Matter. Like,
Right.
well, now it has nothing to do with Black Lives at all.
Yeah, and that's even BLM as a whole as well. That's what they've been from the very start.
Yeah.
Is you can't disagree with our obvious Marxism. You can't disagree with our obvious communism. Even if, like they'll go as far as to say, and if you do, let's say you're a black individual, if you do disagree with our Marxist policies, well, you're a dirty Uncle Tom.
Yeah, you're a racist.
You are racist. And I'm sitting back, I'm like, that doesn't work that way. But that's what they see, and that's what they push, and it's all part of the cancel culture, basically the book-burning mob. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And it's basically criticize us and you will disappear. That's all it is. So don't criticize us. And so that's where it's evil. It's ultimately the more or less the death of freedom by using people's emotions, right? Or people's fears. Because it is a scary concept, right? Imagine one day you wake up and a comment you posted, you've gone viral because somebody has labeled you an evil racist. And now everyone thinks your job, parts of your family, across the world. And now if you show your face out in public, people are going to say, hey, you're that racist. And,
right.
And now you're silenced. You're muzzled. You can't talk, or else
they've already tried to do that. They already tried to do that with us with the during the protests, the Open Up San Juan County.
Truly,
because the one guy had the Zia swastika.
Yeah, the one guy,
and they're like, well, he must be Sheriff Ferrari must agree with him because he was in front of that. Well, it was in the background, and
right,
we were
and also,
standing next to Sheriff Ferrari.
As I like to point out to people, it's like, if you really believe this guy's a Nazi, you're just following your heart without logic. And
exactly.
Because, nobody would tolerate that, and people know that around here. If people actually thought that guy was a Nazi, you would have had opposing sides, and the same side he would be saying he was on, just throwing him out. You know what I mean? What he had was a sign in front to clarify for people who don't know about this incident. There was a guy who brought a swastika Zia New Mexico flag to the rally that was held to open up San Juan County. Basically, and he brought a Zia Pueblo swastika flag he made at home, I'd reckon. And somebody took a picture of the flag without the sign in front of him and started sharing that around and said, look at the Nazis, guys. Which was, it was infuriating because, I was like, well, I like the sentiment that, basically what he was pointing at was Michelle Lujan Grisham is a Nazi. That's all he was saying with the flag. And he had a sign in front that said, in front of his flag that said, what next? Concentration camps? With a question mark. And so he was very clearly anti-Nazi. Very clearly anti, National Socialism and fascism, but he came with this flag that just gave unlimited ammunition. He was very old, and I understand that he might have been living under a rock and doesn't know that, if you support anything that might be right on the political compass by an inch, guess what? You're a racist Nazi, super Cheeto Hitler from the pits of hell. So, let's just give him a swastika flag to work with. So I took a little bit of a sip of vodka, and I'm trying to keep my mind going here. We were talking about, how they're muzzling us. And that's what I was saying. It's like, so you have to be constantly careful not to give them ammunition. And again, that guy was muzzled all the same because he had an idea to, point out how Michelle Lujan Grisham is acting like Hitler.
Right.
And I'll use terms like acting, whereas the left will always just say is Hitler for some reason. Speaking of, I actually had a pro-masker guy come up to me today. Or not today, it was yesterday. I'm sorry, my days are mixed up. He came up to me yesterday and he said he would prefer Hitler over Trump. And I was at work.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. I was at work, so I didn't want to like cause any ruckus, but I was wearing my mask and I was like guffawed, like my mouth dropped. And I asked him, I said, why? And he said, because Hitler's useful. And I said, Hitler's useful? And he said, yeah. And I would have gone into it more, but I think he was picking up that I was just like, what? And mind you, not to be anything, but this guy was a minority as well. He wasn't a white supremacist. He was part of the Native American culture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it just was very odd. And he kind of kept going, but basically along the lines he said, something, Trump is worse than Hitler. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen Trump put 6 million people into camps or anything.
Did you ask him what he thinks Hitler would do with him since he's a minority? I mean, obviously a Native American isn't part of the Aryan style of what Hitler thought was the perfect human.
Yeah, I was about to say Hitler didn't like Native Americans. In fact, there's a documentary about that, how he loved Andrew Jackson. Did you know that? He actually, I mean, not to say he knew the guy, it was before his time, but he was a huge fan of Andrew Jackson. He said he loved the reservation idea. He absolutely adored the long walk, among other things. That's
Hitler what they did to the Jews. The ghettos were basically really crappy reservations.
They were inspired by Andrew Jackson. I'm not kidding you. This is an actual fact. Hitler took inspiration from Democrat Andrew Jackson to put the Jews into camps. So anyways, we got another comment from Skyhawk39. Nice to see you again, Skyhawk. It's awesome.
Hey, Skyhawk.
So he said the Open San Juan Facebook page was loaded with Quislings who jumped on the racial bandwagon as soon as they could. I remember that. I was part of that. I was on the front lines on that page. I don't know if you saw me, but I was there. I was on all these different pages posting, you guys have taken this picture out of context and have posted it without context intentionally to flame racial hate. And, I was very livid. And I was saying, it's very clear the propaganda machine was in full swing. Even KRQB took the image out of context. And it was again, the propaganda machine took it and ran with it. And
we even had a reporter lady asking us questions, trying to imply things on us.
Yes, we did. We actually had someone message the page and was like, is this a picture of you, gentlemen? And yes, that's pictures of 3 of our team members that was there on scene. And it was just very interesting, and they never got back to us once we told them that. But
I guess they're thought we was gonna deny it or something and so I just put on there. I'm like, that was 3 of our
that was us.
3 of our staff members. Can I help you?
Yeah, exactly. And they just
there was nothing else left. She's just like, well, they just admitted that they're Nazis.
I got a migraine that day though, and I've never gotten a migraine in years when it came to politics. I got a migraine from thinking about that swastika flag, because it was clear in the podcast that I did how disgruntled and angry I was at the man who brought it. But not not so much that I'm against him or his message. It was just like it was one of those things. It was so perfect, and it was like borderline. I was like, I wondered if he was a plant because his sign was so small in comparison.
I don't think so, because I mean, we even tried to interview the guy, and he was just a little weird.
He was very grumpy.
It's funny because we were trying to get his side of the story. Hey, he's like, hey, because we were actually wanting to help him out.
Yeah.
And then when we come up to him, he acts like we're the bad guys, and I'm like,
I think maybe we, once we said media, he was like, oh boy.
Yeah, I was like, well, if you know that what you have is going to make people think wrong things of you, maybe you shouldn't be waving that.
Right? It's like, imagine if he had a giant phallic member on a flag and said, this is what Michelle Lujan Grisham is. People would be like, it would be the same thing. It's like, you don't just go to a rally and wave a giant penis in the air. It's a swastika. It's the same thing. Granted, if I saw that, I would probably give the guy a high five, because that would be hilarious.
You mean a penis?
Yeah, exactly. I was to say, if somebody had a huge rubber phallic member, I was just waving it around.
With Michelle Lujan Grisham's face on the end of it?
Well, now they're going to call him a misogynist, so... there is no getting away from it. You're going to get name called. So like I was saying, I was on the front lines. I saw it all, and I had a migraine because of how angry I was that people will literally know that flag was not his message. He didn't want Nazism to come to America. He wanted it to stay away from America. That was his message. Right. But they took it out of proportion and used it against the movement in this dehumanizing hate campaign.
So, bottom line, guys, bottom line is think before you do this stuff. Think about, so what you got to do is you got to think like the quote unquote, and this is like a war game thing, you got to think like your opposition. You got to think like the bad guy, okay? How are they going to look at this, and what opposition are they going to give against it? And what's hilarious is somebody who is a true conservative actually can think what the left are going to do. The left very rarely is able to do this. They do not understand conservatism at all.
Right. I
understand what a leftist is. I understand what they think, and I understand what they're getting at.
Well, as someone who's delved into leftism at a younger age, I can tell you right now, it's very hard to think like the right-wing enemy, right? When your attention span is that of a goldfish.
Right.
So, like, I mean, not to say, don't get me wrong, there are clever devils out there.
And there are some, but here's the reason why I think for the majority of them they can't. So, liberalism is all about it's all about with your heart, okay? Because a true liberal, and I'm not saying this against them, because there are some people who truly think, I want to help people, but see, the thing is they think, oh, well, the thought that counts. Like, for example, you got homeless people. Well, we'll do more social programs. Well, they don't work, but yeah, but it was the thought that counted. Whereas a conservative, it's like, well, no. Let's come up with a solution to this. We got homeless people. How about we start some program stuff of helping them get a job?
Right. And so many of
that gives them a hand up, not a hand out.
Right. And so many of these things, especially with the left, and like I said, I had experience at a younger age when it came to it, was so emotionally driven, and especially amongst young people, that it's a very privy thing, is emotion. They see, like, I remember, like, I was the kid, like, and this was before I knew what politics were. Like, I remember seeing those late night, Nick at Night, like, public service things where it was like, help the starving African kid, and he's like, got him on his knee. And I'm like, give him some food, and he's like, I can't give this child food unless you give me $1.
For only 70 cents a day, you can help Mumbamba.
Yeah, you can help Mulambukaki get his stomach.
Mulambukaki, yes.
Yeah, and it's very sad, And and nowadays as adults, it's like, sensible adults, you could say like, well, whether or not I give this $1 to you, you should give this kid food. But I remember being so sad, and I remember waking up the next day and like running to my mom and dad and being like, Mom, Dad, there are children starving in Africa.
Right. The sad thing too is I know exactly what commercial you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's actually come to be proven that only 30 cents on the dollar got to those kids.
Right. I mean,
those companies that were doing that kept most of it.
What's to say?
And that's not to say all organizations are like that. There's some really good ones out there. Light for the Lost is good. Maybe Pink Girl can help me out. There's one that helps people with food. It's actually an AG organization.
Assembly of God, very good. And another thing I was going on with that, like, there's a lot of organizations you have to watch out for. Like, example, the Pink Thing for breast cancer. What's her name? I don't know. The basic, like, the head honcho of the breast cancer awareness campaign is crap. Like, they don't give hardly any of the money they receive. The CEO of it lives in mansions and amazing, has an amazing life because she takes most of the money. And then Also, Autism Speaks is a very backwards organization as well.
The Red Cross are very
Convoy
crooked
of
actually
Hope.
nowadays too.
Convoy
Convoy of Hope. So yeah, so Convoy of Hope is awesome. They do not take any of the money that you give. It all goes into help feeding people.
Right.
And not only do they feed like homeless people and stuff like that, the big thing about Convoy of Hope that's cool is like they'll roll in with trucks after like a national disaster. Like when Katrina happened, they were actually the first truck to get there after the disaster happened and started helping people.
Speaking of Katrina, because we are kind of freebasing it right now, the last thing we had to talk about was the WHO and Trump. We've covered, basically our governor. Don't listen to a word she says. She's just lying hypocrite.
That should be her like slogan. Governor, don't listen to the words she says. Grisham.
Michelle Lying Grisham. I like that.
Yep.
Hey, we'll coin that. Now we're gonna sound like what's his face? Poor guy. He's got like
Rush
lung
Limbaugh.
cancer. Rush Limbaugh. He's always
That's
got
right.
lovely nicknames for his.
Yeah, he's like Chuck U. Schumer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a say.
Let's see. What's
Imagine-
Ocasio-Cortez?
Yeah, he's always very funny about that. And people are like, that's racist. He's like, no, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, and it's
I was
very
just rolling
funny.
my R.
Yeah, I love Rush. You know, I grew up listening to him. In fact, I gotta say,
Yeah.
probably Rush was probably one of the big reasons I got out of my leftist mindset, because I was working with my father on an oil field job, basically. And I was a welder.
Yeah.
You know, I was a welder's helper, and you know, so many oil field workers, they have Rush Limbaugh blaring. not just coming, you know, not just like this standard volume. It's like decibel breaking how loud Rush Limbaugh.
You gotta
echoes
have
into
it to
the
where you
canyon.
can hear it all over location. See, because you
Right.
might not be right by your truck.
And I could hear
So you
it
gotta-
over the grinder because I was cutting pipe with a grinder. You know, I was cleaning. You know, I was doing Dremel work. I was fixing pipes for my father, and I remember this bit of American come up inside of me that I hadn't really felt in a long time at that point.
That's
And,
awesome.
You know, like I was about to say, you know, and that's something like we all here can agree on. We're very sad to hear of the impending demise of one of America's heroes in media, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, Mr. Limbaugh, we're all here at ITTDM. We have you in our prayers.
Yeah, you are
And-
a direct inspiration for a lot of this.
And you'll probably never hear this, Mr. Limbaugh, but if some huge miracle that you do, thank you for what you've done in just in my life, because I used to be one of those field workers, and you helped me just get through some really tough times.
It was nice
And,
feeling, you know, that we're not alone.
Yeah, and no matter what was going on in the day, I could always turn on Rush and listen to his, because he's a very wise man, and to listen to his words of wisdom a lot of times was just really uplifting.
Right. Let's see. Skyhawk39 just commented. Those Feed the Children orgs had to pay and feed Sally Sru for feeding Mugumba.
That's right.
Luckily, they got 30 cents worth of food after that. Yeah, ain't that something?
Yeah.
So, you know, definitely be careful. Do your research before giving money out. I mean, after all, it's your hard-earned cash, and you want it to go where you think it's going.
Yeah.
Which is basically how we started this show. You know, remember Walmart and all that. We don't want to support places that don't support us.
Correct.
That's our motto. Do not support places that do not support you. And, you know, as much as I try to avoid the boycotting thing, boycotting has been more or less a leftist tactic of like, oh, look, they don't agree with us, so grind them into the dirt. But notice our difference is we're not saying bake the cake. We're saying, well, if you don't want to bake the cake, we're not going to ask you to. That's our difference. You know, if anybody came up against us with that, it's like, well, we didn't force anybody to do anything. We just told them that, well, we're not going to ask you to anymore, you know?
Right.
And going on with that, what to say, 10, 20, I don't know, we could probably keep it rolling. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up, or Sprint?
Well, yes, actually. So we've kind of had kind of a bug out theme for the past few weeks
Oh yes, that's correct.
that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
First we talked about footwear,
Right.
and then we talked about bug out vehicles.
Yep.
And those are great. And I believe we kind of very briefly touched on bug out bags, which I mean maybe in a later date we could go a little bit further into that. I'm a big fan of frame packs for a bigger bug out bag, and there's a difference in a get home bag and a bug out bag.
Yeah, I was about to say a get home bag can look like a satchel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be a messenger bag. It'd be great, just enough to get
a
you
school
to
backpack that you can slip under a chair. You know?
Exactly. That's all you need. Basically, I call those a 72-hour kit. Like if you got enough stuff in there to get you through 3 days, which you don't really have to have a whole lot. For my get home bag, I actually have very little food. I have some water in there, and I have a makeshift shelter to be able to sleep in. Okay, because if I got to spend a night somewhere, if I'm traveling, I want to be able to get a good night's sleep. Because if you don't get any sleep, you ain't gonna make it very far.
Right.
So that's the big thing on that. But the other thing I really want to touch on this, and that goes hand in hand of being able to get sleep. What happens if you, John, or somebody you know, say, and I know you know several people that maybe work like a long ways away from their home.
Yeah.
Say somebody is say let's take Colorado for example. Say somebody's up in Colorado, and their home is down like in Farmington somewhere, or Aztec, or wherever, and they got to get home. So that's going to take several days. What happens if, like, day 2 of getting home, you slide down like a rock crevice and you jar your knee, and your joints hurting bad?
Yeah, basically.
Now what do you do? Yeah. Now you can't walk on it. This actually made me think of this because tell you guys a little story real quick. So yesterday, got home from work, and my beautiful bride let me know that the AC wasn't really working quite right. And so I'd already had my boots kicked off, so I thought, I'll run up there real quick. I'll fix it. Come back down. Well, I didn't take the time to put my boots on like I should have. I run up on top of the house. I fix the cooler. It was just the belt had slipped, so I tightened the little adjuster. And run back over to where the ladder is, and I'm going to hop on the ladder, go down. Well, for some reason, all of a sudden, when I get on the ladder's going to the right, and I'm going to the left. And all of a sudden, I'm in the air.
Uh-oh.
And I'm falling. Yeah, so I fell off the house yesterday. And I guess it was like an instinctual reaction to try to like throw one foot back to try to pull myself back up on top of the house, and my toenail caught the eave of the roof and ripped my toenail off.
Ow.
And thank God that was actually, from all that, that's the only injury that I received. I don't have a bruise or anything on me from landing, which is a miracle. But that really hurt, and it made it really hard to work today, like walk around, because I do a lot of walking in my job. And so I had to hobble and limp around, and I got to thinking, wow, if I hurt myself in such a fashion out in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't be able to get home.
Right. And, with a sprained, or sprain or broken bone, this is what I said, it's like, don't get me wrong, cuts and lacerations, it's always good to have disinfectant,
Sure.
Like, and if you want to be kind of an edgy sucker, like vodka, just throw some vodka in your pack, because it's good for drinking for pain, and it's good for disinfectant.
Yeah, it's a multi-purpose deal.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's your painkiller and your disinfectant. I suggest vodka in your bug-out bag any day. Like, hardcore. I really do. But that's probably just my Russian-isms coming about, so whatever.
That's your Russian video game playing.
Right. It'll decrease your rads by 30 points.
Yeah, I always thought that was funny on that. What was that? What's that game?
Oh, you're kidding.
Shoot, I'm having a brain.
I'm gonna slap you. It's Stalker.
You stalker, there you go. I'm not as big a fan as you.
I don't know what Fallout is. I mean, some place.
Well, I
like
always
Las
remember
Vegas.
Fallout. That's actually a good game.
I'm gonna whoop your butt. I love you, man. I'm joking.
But yeah, so it is a multi-purpose thing. You could drink it. You can use it as a disinfectant. If you have a job that you're not supposed to have it on, you might want to put it in a different container.
Right. And I'm about to say,
just
your
saying.
get-home kit, like, it's one of those things is like, maybe it's also best in your interest, maybe just carry hand sanitizer, not something to drink, but something to disinfect with, because getting absolutely schmizzed and say you haven't eaten on the second day, you might not make it forward.
That might not be a good idea, yeah. Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to drink it unless, like, what I'm thinking of, if you're wanting to get schmizzed, it's like some asshat shot you with an arrow or some crazy stuff. You know, and you got away, and now you got to like shove the arrow the rest of the way through your arm and cut off the end and pull it back out. Yeah. So, there would be benefits of getting schmizzed, as you call it.
We need to open our own brewery, ITTDM Bug Out Liquors.
The Bug Out Brews.
I'd like that. We need to do that.
Yeah, we might do that. We'll have to go over to U-Brew and get us a kit. But anyways, so say you do. Let's just say you hurt your knee really bad. Now that's something that's gonna heal in a couple days, but now you can't travel. So what do? Well, you need to find. And it depends on where you are. You need to find a place you can hunker down, and that's why it's so important to have shelter. Because I know some guys say, well, I'll just, tough it out. I can tough it out outside for 3 days. Well, yeah, if it just takes you 3 days, then yeah. But let's say it takes you 5 days to get home.
Let's say you're in the winter.
Yeah, exactly. So you might want to at least have some shelter and at least a small bag, sleeping bag. And so that gives you somewhere to hunker down, and the shelter needs to preferably not be bright colors. That's the one bad thing. If you go to like a backpacking store, like some of these backpacking stores, orange works great if you and your old lady are going up and backpacking and it's all rule of law. But when people are looking for you and to take your stuff, you don't want bright colors.
That's that sucker that bit me. I had like a bite show up and I just found the spider sucker, I think. Sorry.
Wow. That was a rabbit trail.
I'm sorry, I know. It's just I saw a spider crawling up on my door and I had this like red mark show up and it's itching me. Really
Squirrel!
Well, no, it's just I saw him and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, War Spirit. You're going to hear a bang. I'm going to explain what it is. Smash that sucker right up.
Got him.
Anyways,
got him.
So yeah, like, that's a thing. So, and while that's all great, it has its benefits of having bright colors on the standard camping trail, i.e., somebody gets caught in an avalanche and all you can see is this bright orange bag. That's a help. But in this scenario, granted, yeah, like it might be nice to be able to find people, but that's kind of why I bring in like armbands. So when you're together and trying to hide, you can take off an armband. If you have a brightly colored pack, you're not going to want to just leave it somewhere. You're going to lose it.
Well, and with that said, it's kind of hard to get away from brightly colored bags, I've noticed. But what you can get away from is you can get a biv or a shelter that's camoed. And so, as long as you put your bag back in your pack before you take your biv down, it doesn't matter what color your bag is.
That's true.
I do recommend for this area to get a bag that's at least like 20 degrees rated, because if you like, let's talk bags for a minute here. So say you got a bag, they got different degrees of temperature rating on them, but that's all the way at the end spectrum. Okay, so say your bag is rated for 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that means down at 20 degrees, you're not going to freeze to death, but you're not going to be comfortable either. Right. And so you need to get a bag that's at least 10 degrees lower rated than what you think you're going to be in. for example, me, and it's a little bit bulky, but I actually have a 0 degree bag.
Exactly, a 0 degree bag would help in the.
And now that's going to be a little bit bulkier because even with a compression sack, this bag only gets down to like the size of a basketball.
Right.
But I mean, even with a basketball, you have a medium-sized pack. That's not that uncumbersome.
Right.
And these new bags nowadays, they're really light too. This, like the bag I have, only weighs like 3 pounds. And then my biv tent, my little bitty tent that I have, just one-man tent, it weighs 2 pounds. So now you got 5 pounds of shelter.
Right.
And that's another thing too, you guys out there listening. And this is for bug out and get home bags. Ounces equal pounds. So the more stuff you think you're going to need is the more stuff that you have to carry.
Right.
I've seen some guys with like their quote unquote bug out bags, and I'm like,
It's like.
So how far are you going?
Yeah, it's like 93 pounds of Twinkies. You're like, dude.
Yeah.
Or not even Twinkies.
And what's really hilarious is they'll have like 70, 80 pound pack. And I've seen this from a lot of veterans too, because they're like, well, I carried 80 and 90 pounds when I was in the service. I'm like, well, okay, yeah. Well, first of all, when you was in the service, you were 100 pounds lighter. Now you've gained a lot of weight. You're fat and you're out of shape, and you think you can do the same thing.
Right, and you're threatening to stab people at Walmart. I'm just kidding.
And I'm just being real, because so many veterans do this. I've noticed. And another thing is so if you're in the Army, Marines, or whatever, and you do got those, yeah, you're carrying like an 80, 90 pound pack. True. But at the end of the day, you have a place that's all gear, and then people always bring you tons of food to eat. You're eating a crap ton of calories. You get to drink as much water as you want, endlessly, and you got all this other stuff. You don't have that if you're by yourself.
Right.
It's just you, and it's what you have.
Right, and the people you bring, i.e. family.
So all those calories you just burned carrying this whole other person on your back, you're not going to be able to replenish.
Right. And that, going back to it though, you injured yourself, your knee hurts.
Right.
A lighter pack.
So you might need to stay for like a couple days, like in a small area. Maybe you can limp like maybe a couple miles a day. Let's say that. Because it would be good, like when you hurt your knee, it actually is good to kind of get on it a little bit. So let's say your plans are to do like 1 or 2 or 3 miles a day, which is good because you do not want to stay the exact same place for a couple nights. Even if you're really hurt, you need to try to move at least a couple 100 yards.
Right. Just to, you basically become a non-active sniper. You have to move.
Right.
People, if you're on the side of the road or you've started a fire, especially, you need to move.
Well, and that goes into another thing. If at all possible, if you are trying to your get home kit and everything, make a cold camp. Do not start a fire. Maybe the first, so again, it depends on how far along you're into Teotawaki. First night, yeah, fire's probably going to be fine. Second night, iffy. Third night, no. Yeah. Cold camp.
Especially if you haven't moved a considerable distance. And I mean considerable as in the fact that they can't guess it's the same person doing it.
Exactly. Because you're making yourself a target. Now, if you absolutely have to, have a fire, say you need to sanitize some water, I recommend getting a jet boil. Or some type of rocket stove. You can make a rocket stove out of 2-quart paint cans, and maybe I ought to post that on our Facebook on how to do that.
I would also suggest looking into chemical purifiers, or as well as
yeah, you can use iodine.
All right, and as well as for my Camelback, for example, it comes with this little purifying thing. I can collect water from a stream, have it run through it, and it works, and that's good.
The only bad thing about most chemical purifiers, including like iodine tablets, is it does not get rid of Giardia.
Ooh, and get yourself a bad case of the Giardia.
Yeah, so Giardia is you can only get rid of Giardia all the way if you boil it. Bleach sometimes won't even get rid of Giardia.
That's insane. I was about to say.
Yeah.
I was about to recommend, but the problem with bleach is usually it comes in these very bulky containers that it's not very handy to have on you and bug out.
Well, I've known some people that they get those Visine bottles, and they'll put a little bit of bleach in that and see. So, for example, like a Camelback is usually like a 2-3 liter bag. So it'd be like, I believe it's 3 drops of bleach per 2 liters. But here's the thing. Now you have to wait 3 hours before you can drink that water.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Really rough.
So if you get a jet boil, or if you get a small little rocket stove, you are still going to have a fire, but it's going to be small. It's going to be really small. And if you like hide like into the base of like a thick pinon or juniper tree, of course, make your little base there. You're not going to burn the damn tree down, but you know what I mean.
Lantern. Yeah,
basically yes. And see, the cool thing about a rocket stove is it gives out very little smoke. If you get a rocket stove going good, I've actually used a rocket stove inside a tent.
That's dope.
And now you do have to like open your tent up a little bit because you don't want to get carbon monoxide poisoning, but there's not enough smoke to even tell.
Right.
And you can even use that to warm your tent up just a little bit. I wouldn't recommend doing it all night, but it can take the chill off the air just a little bit.
Yeah, monoxide.jpg.
Yeah.
Be careful with that. So,
yeah,
standard.
The third thing with that is if you were just wanting a little bit of warmth in your tent, and you're in a place where you don't care if there's a little bit of light, beeswax candles do not give off any carbon monoxide. Just so you know.
So another thing is you're talking about sprained legs and that sort of thing.
Yes.
What about a splint?
So a splint, like say you break an appendage, and I would imagine if it's that bad and whatever you're moving, it's probably going to be like a leg or something. Because if I break my arm, I'm just gonna keep hoofing it. It's gonna hurt like hell, but my thought is going to be getting back to my wife and kids.
Right. I mean, an arm is an arm. You can walk with an arm.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still mobile. Screw it. I'm humping it.
Yeah.
In fact, keeping moving is going to keep my mind off of that arm.
I was about to say, and there's a lot of things.
I might, at the worst, I might, and I do carry an ace bandage for this, I'll probably wrap it real tight up against my body.
Right.
And just keep moving. But with a leg, you can make a makeshift splint out of some tree limbs. So you're going to want 2 limbs, one at the front of the break and one at the back, at least. I actually do like to do 3, so you kind of got a triangle shape around that appendage.
Right.
And then you're going to want to get some paracord or some kind of rope, and you're going to want to get it freaking tight.
Yep, real tight.
So tight that it's almost cutting off your circulation.
Which I also bring in the vodka again, because it's going to hurt like hell.
It is going to hurt like hell, and that is going to help straighten it. And that will be good for the long term, because you do got to think, well, if this heals wrong, now I'm going to be crippled for the rest of my life.
Right. So
and that's not going to bode well in a Teotihuacan situation.
Yeah, because it's not like we're just going to resume as we were. Not just going to walk back into your day job. Sorry, boss.
We don't know how long this is going to last. It could last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years.
And so a splint is something to look into. So I would suggest, of course, carrying actual bandages. Not just Band-Aids, but actual full-blown
Sure.
tight wrap bandages that you can wrap around
Sure.
3 sticks in your leg.
Well, and I wouldn't recommend necessarily. I mean, bandages, yes,
Not
if
by
it's
itself.
a compound. If it's a compound fracture where it's sticking out, yeah,
All right.
okay, because that's going to stop the bleeding. But you're going to want something stronger to that bandage to get it tighter. That's why I recommend paracord.
Yeah.
Everybody should have a 50-foot hank of paracord in their get home bag.
Oh, good. We covered something new. Not,
Yes.
I was just saying something else to add.
Paracord has multiple uses. I never carry anything in my bag that doesn't have at least 3 uses.
That's a good concept. We need to design our own bag, sell it.
Oh, we could do that.
That'd be cool, man. Like the ITTD bug out bag, have our own little patch on it and stuff. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Be
we
like
can do
those
that.
pastors that sell those like buckets of like survival food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Have our own little branded cans.
Like mypatriotsupply.com.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, folks, they do got good stuff there. So, and we're not affiliated with them in any way. So this is not like we're getting any money from them. But seriously, if you want good long-term food, hit up mypatriotsupply.com.
Yeah, they're pretty good. There's a few good places to look at, and there's a lot to consider in Teotihuacan because so often we look into it where it's like, oh boy, we're gonna be fit and in our best shape and ready to move. But here's the thing, you get into that, you don't remain 3 points of contact when you get out of your truck to start huffing at home, you break your knee.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye bye. There goes your knee.
Just some little dumb things. Like, for example, right now, if I had to bug out right now, or if I had to bug to my home, I would have a time of it because my toe hurts.
Right. No kidding.
And so I am at a disadvantage.
Right. And
Now,
how often do we find ourselves before a major event being in the worst possible point?
Well, that's Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Any military guy's heard of Murphy, and so Murphy's Law, for those of you who don't know, is basically anything that bad could happen will happen at the worst time.
Jeez.
Yes.
That's disheartening, isn't it?
So what you have to do is don't get disheartened. Plan around Murphy. Plan that Murphy. This is a Marine Corps phrase, and I'm sorry, folks, I'm going to have to use a little bit of vulgarity. But Mr. Murphy is going to stick his ugly puss up in your face. That's the Marine Corps motto.
Right.
And when he does that, you have to be ready.
And that's kind of the whole thing of prepping in general. It's not so much if Murphy's going to do it, it's when. And so,
exactly.
And so typing into that, like what I mean by, is basically when he does it, make sure it's a very minimal impact.
Right.
Have your get home bag on you, have your, if you can carry, there's just little things. And then you can work around Murphy's Law when you get home as well. And it's all just about combating Murphy's ugly puss.
Yeah, sorry for the vulgarity, folks,
fine.
if it was offended anybody, but that is a Marine told me that.
I'm about to say, Murphy doesn't sound like that type of name, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, the Marine Corps, another friend of mine told me they're the straightest. What did they say? What did he? And this is a Marine saying this, so if any Marines get offended out there, I'm sorry. He said it. He said they're the straightest homosexuals he's ever met.
Right. I was about to say,
because they make jokes like that all the time.
Well, you'd have to. One of your main deployments is you're a Marine. You work with the Navy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to all my Marine Corps friends out there. John, they're not Navy.
Okay.
They might have an anchor in their thing, and they might actually have been birthed from the Navy.
I know.
And technically, they are the Navy, but they don't like to hear that.
I know. That's kind of why I said it. I did give hell
I'm sorry to all my Marine friends out there. I'll buy you some red crayons later.
Right. They got to be Crayola band. None of that knockoff nonsense.
No. Ain't nothing for the best for my guys.
It's like, I was in Iraq and I ate green crayons for 3 straight days. You will respect me.
Oh my gosh! Hold on.
We like to have fun here. We don't.
I had
obviously,
to mute my mic.
Something, just to give, them to fire back at. Not all 3 of us have absolutely no military experience outside of civilian training.
Yeah, none.
So you could just be like, "Oh, you guys are a bunch of civvy, jack-offs," and just that's that.
And that's fine.
Yeah, we're fine with that because we love you guys. We appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate what you've done. Don't get us wrong. However, I do suggest Christians in the Navy repent from their gay ways and come, go to join a different branch.
And at least with pistol shooting, I can outshoot 90% of anybody that's in the Marine or Army.
Dang. I don't really concentrate too much on pistols in the military, do they? No.
They don't.
But
only officers for the most part even carry a sidearm.
That makes sense. I mean, you got 210 rounds on you. It'd be kind of cumbersome to have your 9mm on you as well.
Right. And if you've ever seen, and a lot of Army guys that I've talked to will be first to admit this, their basic pistol shooting course is kind of a joke.
Is it kind of like Modern Warfare or something?
They don't teach any tactics at all, and they don't teach proper grip, proper draw. You'll see there was a video of them showing them, and a lot of them had their grip was way down on the tang of they weren't trying to get a high grip. You see, with handgun shooting, the higher the grip you have, the better recoil mitigation you can have.
Right.
And now go ahead.
Not to, because I was looking at this, right? And I was like, well, in a military situation, it's very rare you're going to be using that sidearm. In fact, almost 99%, I think I can safely say, of military combat initiations do not involve a sidearm.
And for the most part, yes. Mm-hmm. I would, if somebody solely believes that, though, I would have them research, and they made a movie about it, but it's legit real. Research Black Hawk Down. Those boys ended up shooting pistols because there were so many coming at them.
That's all they had left.
So a secondary, I still have it in my kit. I mean, if I was quote unquote going to war tomorrow, I would have a secondary on me.
That's what I was saying. So most of the contact, in the standard conflict that we're going to have combat-wise, somebody's coming at you, that pistol's going to suffice. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I'm saying though, if I'm going to war tomorrow, it's still going to be my secondary. I'm going to have my rifle.
Absolutely.
But it's faster to go to a secondary if somebody's still coming than to reload your rifle.
Period. And that's not just that's a very famous line, by the way, from a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's just Call of Duty. No, that's serious. And you might not have ever tried it, but you will find dropping a mag and putting a mag into a gun is a strenuous, frustrating, anti-American process because we all hate reloading.
Which is why you should always... So if you actually go to slide lock in a conflict, you did something wrong.
You're kidding.
What you should have done is there's always going to be a lull in the battle, hopefully. Unless it is like Black Hawk Down where they're just waves and waves of them coming, then, well, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But if there's a lull, then you should do an admin reload. You take your partial mag, you dump it in your dump pouch, and you slap a fresh mag in. And then if there's an even longer lull, you take and empty out your dump pouch and you put it in the further back slots in your plate carrier. So then this one furthest to the back is only a partial mag, but it still has some rounds in it. So it's going to be one of the last round mags that I grab, but it's still in my my lineup.
Right. And, with that, we have about 10 minutes left, so we will probably go ahead and start wrapping it up. But, that's a good thing. I'm glad we started covering, the when, because Murphy, one of his favorite tactics is to hurt you. And you're going to feel like an idiot. You're going to feel like an idiot. I mean, but at least even just feeling like an idiot, it'd be nice to have what you need to recover.
Right, right. You're going to feel like, oh, damn, that was dumb. But then you have the stuff to make it home.
Right. And, that's what we're about here. We're here studying these things, talking about these things, so you're not the first to die.
Amen.
I mean, we're not saying that you're not going to. Everyone dies eventually. But we're trying to make sure you're not the first to die when the crap hits the fan.
Right.
Is today the day? I really like that name.
Don't be honored to die for your country. Make some poor bastard die for his.
Exactly.
General Patton.
General Patton. Most American general we've had in a long time. Not to say, I kind of take that back. I mean, all generals are very American from what I've seen. Not, at least in America. That'd be kind of weird in other countries. But,
right.
That's the thing.
Mattis was great until he went off his rocker.
Well, I don't know, man. With that, it's one of those things. I don't know. I don't know what his beef with Trump is. I really don't. It was very weird. During all this, they were like best of friends. And I still quite like Pence. Speaking of Pence, I haven't heard from that guy since like the election.
Dude, I haven't heard from Pence at all.
What to say? He's kind of a silent operator. I really hope that he would speak out more because, if anything, I wish it was Pence Trump, honestly. I mean,
I don't know. I don't think Pence has the tenacity.
That's true. But I mean, well, yeah, you're right.
He's too milk toast.
Well, obviously, he's a very quiet son of a gun, ain't he?
Yeah.
To say, like, ever since he was elected, like, I remember there was all this reference. I almost forgot who my vice president was. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, well, honestly, I haven't thought of Mike Pence until you just said that.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about it because I was thinking of Mattis, and honestly, I always thought Mattis to be the vice president. You know what I mean? Like, just in the back of my head.
Yeah, he was and he was the Secretary of Defense for a while until he quit. He just told Trump no.
Yeah,
he
was
quit.
Very angry at Trump, and
well, he didn't like the way Trump was handling the Syria thing.
Yeah, a lot of Americans didn't.
And yeah, they didn't. I don't know. I wasn't privy to all the information he was at, so I really can't say he did right or wrong because there's a lot of stuff that the State Department updates and briefs the president on that we never hear about.
Right.
So I can't honestly say yes or no. And maybe if I was briefed, I would be as pissed as Mattis. I don't know.
And that's where I was getting at. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, because Mattis seems like, by all intents and purposes, a very logical, right-wing, conservative American.
Before all this started happening, and I was just kind of confused with him maybe or whatever, but he's kind of was my hero. I mean, I love his quotes. One of my favorite ones is, always carry a knife with you in case you need to slit somebody's throat. Or if there's cheesecake.
Right. And I mean, he's obviously, it's just one of those things. And it's like, has he gone John McCain on us? That's the worry. That's what we're worried about.
That's what I worry about is like, has the deep state gotten to Mattis?
Right. Have they threatened his family? Have they threatened him? Have they threatened...
Right, exactly.
And it's just one of those things.
He's the kind of honorable man, I'm sure, that wouldn't want his family to go down just because of something he's doing.
Right. Which ties into just what does the deep state know and what is the affiliation? Not to say, because that's one of the things that the left would love. They always go on about how Trump was on the flight records, but always turn a blind eye to Clinton.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Trump, yeah, he was on those. I'm not gonna, I personally, like I said, Trump has done a lot of good. I have yet to find any reason to, not vote for him. But it is one of those things. I'm actually, I don't know if it's just the media has gotten to my head or something, but I'm like, man, I don't know who to trust in this climate. Dan Crenshaw's gone retarded. Fucking Mattis is doesn't like Trump, and it's all like all my heroes are fading away, and all that's left is this altar of the president, and I don't know even. It's like surely maybe these heroes have something in mind, or have they just been, have they been taken over by the deep state? And it's one of those things, I don't know. I'm not going to tell people not to vote for Trump because honestly, that's our only
What other
hope.
choice do we have? Are you going to vote for Biden?
I'll probably vote for Kanye at the end of it if I had to.
Seriously?
Over Biden? Shit. It's a no contest.
Over Trump, though?
No. I mean, that's simply because Kanye is a little cuckoo. I like his Jesus message. I like that he's turned Christian, but I don't know. He still kind of strikes me as a nut.
He's a little... Yeah, he's a little weird.
Yeah, he's a little weird. I like him as a celebrity, but as a political leader, I do not think he's...
Well, that's just it. Kanye, he hasn't come out as like, okay... Because he was like, we need change, we need this. Whatever. Okay, so what is your solution? I would like for Kanye to sit down and say, okay, here's what I'm going to do.
Right. What is
he
your
hasn't
platform?
done that.
Yeah. What is your platform? And to his credit, if it came down between him and Joe Jorgensen, I'd probably vote for him still. For the simple fact
and I would still like to ask him, is like, okay, so where are you on the Second Amendment?
Right. That's not very clear at all.
Right. Where are you on abortion?
He's actually proven himself to be pretty pro-life these last few days, which I appreciate him for that.
Well, and that's okay. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But so is Trump.
Right. And it's just one of those things. You have all these little options and all these little strangeties, and I mean, right now it's a clown thing. But don't get me wrong, Trump is still, at this current point in time, he's still going to have my vote. That's
what I'm pointing out. Like, don't split the vote, because a vote for Kanye or any of these others is just taking away a Trump. Yes, exactly.
And God help this country. And I think even Democrats would agree with that. God help this country if Biden wins.
Yeah, it says somebody was like on Facebook last week was like giving me all kinds of crap over, I forgot what I even said, but they said you're probably a Trump supporter and all this, and I'm like, well, God, are you a Biden supporter? And they said, well, I didn't say that. Well, that's either Trump or Biden.
Right.
I mean, really, when it comes down to brass tacks, I mean, those are the only two that have a shot. And you're telling me that you want Biden? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that's who your party has backed. Well, I didn't say I was Democrat. And I'm like, well, you sure sound like one. He didn't say nothing else.
Yeah, and that's just the thing where it's just,
it's like the Democrat Party's so ashamed. Like,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
As like a people, sure, but as the leaders, they're like, yeah, no, Biden's great, and everyone's like, no.
Well, that shows the proof right there. It's the deep state. They don't care who gets the presidency because they know they're going to have control.
And what's really sad,
as long as it's got a D with their name, they would put AOC up there if they thought she could win.
Oh my gosh!
Like, oh my gosh, I'm the president now.
Hey, I like to watch AOC as long as the TV is muted.
Oh yeah, that's
I always joked with my family while I was single, and I'm still single. Ladies, I'm a conservative Christian man out here who runs a relatively successful show. Come hit me up. But I was always saying, it's like, if I could take the voice box out of AOC, I'd happily marry that woman. She's very attractive.
This is a public service announcement. Jonathan Evigilans is a single man looking for a hot, lovely Christian lady. Call now.
Right after I talked about dating AOC. Right, but yes, call now on our page, because we're not going to give you our phone numbers. That's suicide.
No.
There's a Rick Astley number I could have given out. That'd have been funny. But
Call 867-5309 for
Right.
a good time with Jonathan of Vigilance.
505-867-9305 or whatever. Oh my god.
You just-
309.
no,
I'm sorry.
no.
867
867-5309.
309. Well, I didn't want to sing to remember it because it's like it's hard to keep track if you're not in that rhythm. I'm sorry. You know I know the song. Give me a break, boomer. Anyways, it's 11 o'clock p.m., ladies and gentlemen. That marks the end of our show.
All right. Well, you wanna close this in prayer, John?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've closed this in prayer, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and do that. Lord, thank you for bringing us all together here in safety. These are scary times and people need hope, Lord. I pray that your light shine forth upon this nation, God. I pray that you reach out to Michelle Lujan Grisham, Lord, and help her see a different way of thinking, Lord. I understand that you have sent us here to love and to bring hope to tired eyes, God. People are scared. There is an enemy moving amongst us that is controlled by your adversary, Satan, Lord. And just like us, you have every intention to stop him. But the difference between us and you, Lord, is you know how, and only through you can we find out our answers to stop this tyranny. And Lord, let everything that happens here on earth in New Mexico, across this nation, and across all the nations abroad be for your glory. Let your will shine down upon this small speck of dirt in space, God. Have mercy on this poor nation, Lord, as it has strayed far from you. I pray, Lord, that you give us ways to cover our doors in blood, Lord, with the Lamb. 3,000 dead children a day, Lord. I have no doubt in my mind that a lot of this is judgment upon us. So, Lord, I ask for your mercy today, God. I ask that you give us the wisdom and give us the tools and give us the ambition, Lord, to move forward and right all these wrongs. Lord, in your name, I pray for peace. I pray for success. And I pray for your will again, Lord. In your holy name, by your Son's blood, let us be free, God. Amen.
Amen.
This is Evigilans with Is Today the Day Media, followed by War Spirit and IT, my two closest brothers in the world. And I'm very grateful you all have joined in and listened to us. It is a pleasure as always. Share our show, share our page. We are located on Facebook at facebook.com/ITTDM. That's the abbreviation of Is Today the Day Media. You can find us on Facebook, send us a message, and interact with our posts. We love seeing you. God bless you all this wonderful evening as we look into a very interesting tomorrow. Good night.
Bye. Bye, Famas.
Our national anthem.